Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Series A, Dhamma talk number 57. In the few last talks we were discussing about the Four Noble Truths. The Noble Truth of suffering, the Noble Truth of the origin or the cause of suffering, and the Noble Truth of the cessation of suffering. Those three we already have discussed. So just to recap on the third Noble Truth of the cessation of suffering, which is popularly known as Nibbana. What is Nibbana? Cessation of suffering is Nibbana. Cessation of the cause of suffering, which is craving, along with ignorance, is also Nibbana. As all mind and matter are suffering, so you can also say cessation of mind and matter is Nibbana. And also this mind and matter can be viewed in a different way as five aggregates. Aggregates of matters, aggregates of feeling, aggregates of perception, aggregates of mental formation, and aggregates of consciousness. Those are the detailed aspects of mind and matter. That's why these five aggregates, cessation of five aggregates, extinction of five aggregates can also be called as Nibbana. So when these five aggregates, total extinction of five aggregates is the final full term of Nibbana. It is called Nibbana without the remains of the five aggregates. That is a state where an arhat passed away. And at that moment, no mind and matter is formed or born again. That is the Nibbana. But also there's a Nibbana where the aggregate still remains, okay? Especially the aggregates of matter, which means arhat, who is still alive, but have extinct all mental defilements. But they still have this body left, the aggregates of matter. That is the Nibbana with aggregates remaining. That's also Nibbana. And in here we know that Arhat, who has already attained Nibbana, this Arhat has no more mental defilements. So you can also call extinction or uprooting of all mental defilement is Nibbana. So Nibbana can be seen, approached, understood in many different ways. And these definitions are based on the walking model, based on what we are doing, elimination or uprooting of mental defilements, observing all the five aggregates, observing the mind and matter, and also observing all the suffering, physical suffering and mental suffering. These are actually, you are experiencing all these various aspects in your practice. So these definitions we approach are from the walking model, the one actually we are doing. So when the mind and matter ceased to exist, that is when you realize Nibbana. We have talked in detail, so we won't pick that up again. So in here, the Buddhas taught us the Four Noble Truths. The first one is suffering. The second one is the cause of suffering. And the third one is the cessation or the end of all suffering. 3. But he also taught us how to achieve that cessation of all suffering. He gave us the method. He gave us the roadmap. He gave us the formula. He just doesn't leave us saying that if you are good, you will go to heaven. Not simply as such. It's very precise, in detail. He tells us what to do, what to practice. And if you practice according to the roadmap he has left us, we will achieve or realize the cessation of all suffering, or the extinction of all craving and ignorance. So that roadmap or the formula or method is the Fourth Noble Truth. Noble Truth of the path that leads to the cessation of suffering, the Fourth Noble Truth. Noble Truth of the path that leads to the cessations of suffering, the Fourth Noble Truth. And in other words, we know that the Fourth Noble Truth as the Eightfold Noble Path. Okay, that Eightfold Noble Path is the Fourth Noble Truth. So these Eightfold Noble Paths, he taught us in detail. And he didn't say this or that, this method or that method. What he said is, any method, whatever you practice, whichever practice you follow, as long as that method contains this Eightfold Noble Path, you will realize the end of all suffering. He didn't say this method is right, that method is wrong. Just simply say, practice any method you like, as long as the method you are picking up contain this Eightfold Noble Path. One will realize Nibbana. That is the way Buddha stated. So you can call it Eightfold Noble Path. So it is a road, a path. Or in other words, 8 constituents or 8 factors that contained in this practice. Okay. Path or constituents, 8 constituents that one practice is the Fourth Noble Truth. And here, one misunderstanding, in fact, there are a few books written, presented in a different way, so we should have a clarity about it. On this Eightfold Noble Truth, one say the first 2 Noble Truths, okay, Noble Truth of suffering and the cause of suffering, which is craving. Okay. Okay? Craving is the cause, suffering is the effect. Cause and effect relationship. And in here too, for some reason, some people understood or interpret that Eightfold Noble Path is the cause. The end or cessation of suffering is the effect. Some present it that way. In other words, there's a cause and effect. The first one is the Lokiya, mundane world. The second two, Nibbana and the Noble Eightfold Path, is the Lokottara, ultra-mundane. And in here too, they put it, Eightfold Noble Path is the cause. On a superficial level, it's quite, makes sense. You practice this Eightfold Noble Path, that's a cause, and then effect is the Nibbana. And that is the wrong interpretation, wrong statement. Because as soon as you consider Eightfold Noble Path as the cause and Nibbana is the effect, in other words, Nibbana arises due to Eightfold Noble Path. Nibbana arises due to Eightfold Noble Path. But we all understand, as soon as something arises, it has to disappear. Arising and passing away. So Nibbana never arises. Nibbana we already explained in many different ways in last two talks. Nibbana is. That's it. Is. It is not in space, not in time. Okay? There is no nama and rupa, no mind and matter. Nibbana simply is. So, Eightfold Noble Path is not the condition that produces Nibbana. Nibbana simply is. But when one traveled the path of Noble Path, and when he has arrived the destination, that is the moment you realize Nibbana. To put in an easy way to understand, let's say we have sea to sky highway. We follow the highway, and at the end of that highway we arrive to Whistler. That road, that path doesn't create Whistler. Whistler is always there. The only thing is, if you travel along that sea to sky highway, you will arrive to Whistler. So the road is not a condition for the existence of Whistler. The road is not the cause to realize or to arrive to Whistler. In that way, one should understand. So if you see Eightfold Noble Path is the cause, Nibbana is the effect, that is incorrect. Nibbana simply is. You simply realized it. But you have to have these Eightfold Noble Path. That's one aspect we need to understand clearly. And also this Eightfold Noble Path. Okay? This Eightfold Noble Path is you actually attained it or you actually achieve it on a 100% level. Okay? On a 100% level when you realize Nibbana. Okay? Without having that 100% full so to speak, the Eightfold Noble Path, you cannot realize it. You only have this so-called Eightfold Noble Path when you attain Nibbana, when you realize Nibbana. If it is not, you haven't attained that Eightfold Noble Path there. The true, perfect, 100% Eightfold Noble Path, or the Fourth Noble Truth, is attained only when you realize Nibbana. That one we need to understand. But at the same time, one may argue, we are practicing here all the time. Okay? We're practicing mindfulness, we put effort, we have concentration, we observe these sila, morality, and so on. We attain insight, all these things. We are on the Eightfold Noble Path. One may argue that way. Yes, we are on the Eightfold Noble Path, but we haven't achieved the Eightfold Noble Path yet. So we can understand this way. The path that we are walking upon, what we say Eightfold Noble Path, is while we are practicing Vipassana meditation. While we are practicing Vipassana meditation, we are practicing this Eightfold Noble Path. But that one, as we can call it, preliminary path. Okay? Not the real path yet, not the true path yet. We are on a preliminary level. And then only when we realize Nibbana, only at that moment we have the real Eightfold Noble Path in its full force and full form. So that is another thing we need to understand. We are always practicing the Eightfold Noble Path, and we can call it we are on the preliminary path. Without this traveling through the preliminary path, we cannot arrive to the real path. In other words, you are in the midst of the forest, going this way, that way, round and round, all these little paths following. Okay? You have to travel those two things. Eventually you get out of the forest and go to the main road, and then that's the real path. As such, one need to understand. So don't think we are Eightfold Noble Path. We are practicing, we are on the path. Okay, yeah, we are on the preliminary path to arrive to the real path. That is another part we need to understand about this Eightfold Noble Path. So there are two aspects that we need to understand. Now, this Eightfold Noble Path, okay, we all know. Before we go to the Eightfold Noble Path, we always say, okay, in the Buddhism, there are three main pillars of Buddhism. It's called Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Okay. Sila is morality, okay, discipline, let's call it discipline. To be not hurting, not harming, to be wholesome, to be helpful. Okay. That's Sila. Samadhi means mental concentration, ability to focus your mind so that the mind doesn't wander into the realms of discursive thoughts. And then third one is Panya. Panya is wisdom or insight. So those are the three pillars of Buddhism. Sila, Samadhi, Panya, morality, concentration, and wisdom. Okay. Without those three, you cannot practice Buddhism. You cannot call yourself a Buddhist. Or you can be on the path, of course. So those are the three pillars in general to everybody. Most of the Buddhists who go there, their approach, their understanding is with these three pillars: morality, concentration, and wisdom. This Eightfold Noble Path is actually the more detailed expansion of these three: Sila, Samadhi, Panya. What it is Sila. What is it? Sila is morality. Morality is not hurting, not harming anyone by physical deed or speech. That is Sila. It doesn't go to the mental level, only on the verbal and physical level. So that is Sila. And an Eightfold Noble Path, you will know the words there. Sama Kamanta. Sama is the correct. Kamanta is the action deed, physical action, physical deed. Sama Kamanta. Correct physical deed. And then Sama Vacha. Sama is correct, Vacha is speech. Correct speech. And the third one is Sama Ajiva. Okay. Correct livelihood. Okay. You can argue, of course, livelihood can be put under the physical deed. Yes, of course, you can put it. But Buddhists know the nature of the human world. We cannot simply, everybody can meditate and attain Nibbana. We all, in a simple life, we have to walk, we have to live, we raise family, and so on. That is the major aspect of the human community. You need to work, to put food on the table and to feed your family. You just simply can't avoid it. But even though you are doing that, you can still practice this. That's what he is implying. That's why in the morality group is the right deed, right speech, and right livelihood. Three things. He split it into three groups under the morality. And then concentration, Samadhi group. And the Samadhi group he split into three again. One is effort, Samavariya, okay, the right effort. And then second one is Samasati, right mindfulness. And then finally Samadhi, right mental concentration. He just doesn't say only mental concentration. He put three together. One is you need to apply effort, the right effort. And then the right mindfulness. Through that right mindfulness, one needs to have the right concentration. Concentration without mindfulness cannot be applied as the Eightfold Noble Path. Concentration alone by itself, by the Samatha method, it is not on the Eightfold Noble Path. That concentration group must include the right mindfulness. Of course, effort is whichever way you always need it. So keep that in mind. In the concentration group, Buddha inserts right mindfulness in that concentration group. That automatically explains if you practice pure samatha, one cannot attain Nibbana. Pure samatha cannot attain Nibbana. You might have the greatest concentration to the 8th level or the 10th level. And then you might be able to subdue all the mental defilement, but still you are lacking in the Eightfold Noble Path. One is lacking. Then you cannot. You must have the mindfulness. So that is the Samatha group. The Buddha split the second one, Samadhi group, into 3. And the third one is the Panya group. The Panya group, Buddha is divided into 2. One is called Samadhi. Samadhi is the right view or the correct view. And then second one is Samasankappa. Okay. Samasankappa is put as right thought. We'll deal with these later in detail. So those 2 are put under the wisdom group. So the 3 pillars of Buddhism is split more details into 3, 3, and 2, altogether 8. And these are the 8 factors or the 8 constituents that requires in a practice if one wants to be liberated from all form of suffering, the Eightfold Noble Path. And why these Eightfold Noble Path? Or in other words, why are these 3 groups, Sila, Samadhi, Panya? Why is it absolutely necessary to have these 3 pillars or 3 groups or 3 techniques, 3 different techniques to be liberated from suffering? The answer lies in your mind, in your mind. In your mind, in our ordinary mind, what is happening? Always there's a form of craving, grasping, attachment. Okay. Lobha is always arising. Okay. And secondly, what? Frustration, irritation, anger, aversion, hatred, ill will arising, dosa. And also delusion or illusion, not knowing what is really happening. Okay? That is also arising. Lobha, dosa, and moha, 3 things are arising. And whenever these things are arising, what is it? They are all in a form of thoughts, mental defilements. Mental defilements are arising. And these mental defilements, they arise in their own little separate parts. Okay? We look at people in general. There are a lot of people we know. They are nice people, good people, decent people. Okay? They always do the good thing, the right thing. Okay? They smile, they help, and live their life and so on, going on. In other words, at that moment, the mind is producing, so to speak, wholesome thoughts. Okay? Wholesome thoughts. From the wholesome thought, you have a wholesome speech and wholesome deed that's coming up all the time. But in general, we can agree to it, except for a few anomalous group. But in general, most of us are decent people, good people, always thinking about good things, saying good things, doing good things, and live as happily and harmoniously as we can with our environment. But suddenly something happened, let's say at your work or wherever it is, driving, something happened. What happened? Something that is disagreeable to you. Something that is not in accordance with your likes, something that falls into your dislike group. Something happened. Okay? Somebody, a co-worker, did something that really ticked you off. As soon as when that happened, in other words, as soon as that condition which falls into your dislike, okay, domain, what happened? Boom. Suddenly, dosa or anger arises in you. Before, the mind is just happy, doing good things, saying good things, and suddenly a condition changes. That condition falls totally out of your like zone and fall into your dislike zone, and suddenly a thought arises. And that thought is associated with aversion or anger. Dosa arises. That is the arising moment of the mental defilements. The arising moment. And then suddenly that situation is quite intense. When it is quite intense, what happened? You lash out, saying really harsh words, rude words, cursing words, or you might actually physically punch or push or do something. That is a transgression state. So mental defilement, if you look at it, there's a state of transgression. You actually physically and verbally doing it to hurt or to harm. That is your mind, your consciousness with the transgressive mental defilements of the transgressive nature. And the other one was right at the moment when all things suddenly change from your like to dislike. A thought of aversion or anger arises. That is the arising moment. Just in a thought form, arising moment. That is a different state from transgression. And also, there is, before that, there is no anger, nothing, no mental defilements. You are happy and you are doing things and you are singing away. No anger is there, no mental defilement is there, no lobha is there, no dosa is there. But that state of no anger, no mental defilement suddenly change whenever the situation change. So in other words, mental defilement is still there. You cannot see, you cannot feel, you cannot observe, you don't even know it exists. It is in a latent form. So all of us have a mental defilement in three different forms. One in a latent form, another in the arising form, the moment it's happened, the arising moment, and the third one is the transgressive form. Mental defilements stay in a three different forms. Because of that, Buddha gave us the three pillars: morality, concentration, and wisdom, to tackle these three different types, three different nature of mental defilements. What is morality? Morality is restraint, refraining from hurts and harms, cruelty, violence. In other words, simply put, 5 precepts, you refrain. This morality, if you observe this morality, refraining from killing, stealing, and so on, what is it preventing? It is preventing from executing transgressive natures of the mental defilement, your actual action. So this morality curtail your actual physical and verbal deeds to hurt, to harm others. So that's why it needs the morality to take care of that matter. And in general, that is the basic level that everyone should follow, need to follow, if we want to keep our environment in a peaceful condition. That's morality. And then we call it concentration. Concentration is mental concentration. You're concentrated on a single object. Single object. And whenever the mind is totally occupied with the single object, totally focused and concentrated, at that moment, in that domain, no mental defilement can arise. When you have concentration, samadhi, mental defilement cannot occupy the same space. Just like if you have loved, there's no hate. If you have hate, there's no love. That's how the mental concentration or samadhi works. When there is a samadhi, there is no mental defilements. When there's a mental defilements, there is no samadhi. So by keeping samadhi, you are preventing the mental defilements, the first arising of the mental defilements. That's what you are preventing. Okay? You are preventing the mental defilements to arise, the first arising, because of the condition that you don't like. You prevent it. That is what samadhi does. It takes care of the second form of mental defilements. But there's another mental defilement which you cannot see, feel, detect, or even know that it exists. But it always arises when a condition changes. That one, concentration cannot take care of it. Okay? Regardless how concentrated you are. Let's say you are in a deep concentration. Let's say a dog barks, and suddenly you broke from your jhanic state, concentrated state, and you suddenly got irritated and angry. You just can't. So these kind of latent form of mental defilements, which we cannot detect, see, feel, only arise when the condition change, that can only be eliminated or uprooted with wisdom or insight. Wisdom or insight, which is piññā. That's why the Buddha gave us the three methods, because we have three different types of mental defilements to take care of. Transgressive form, arising form. Some call it arising form, some call it obsessive form. And the third one is the latent form. Transgressive form can be taken care of by morality if you observe strictly. And the arising form of mental defilements can be taken care of by concentration. And the latent form can be totally uprooted by wisdom or insight. For that reason, the Buddha gave us these three pillars. But in detail, that is the Eightfold Noble Path. Eightfold Noble Path. Now, to say this Eightfold Noble Path, if you have to enumerate it, Buddha always start with the samadhi, the wisdom group. He started with the wisdom group. Samadhi, the right understanding or correct understanding or correct point of view. Samadhi. And then samasankappa, the right thoughts or the correct thoughts. These are the wisdom group. These wisdom groups are used to eliminate the latent form of mental defilements. Latent form. And in here too, Why did the Buddha start the group with this right view or the right thought? This right view or the right thought or the right point of view is, it started with the right view and it ends with the right view. Because right from the onset, when you are practicing, you have to have a certain understanding of it, at least on an intellectual level, intellectual understanding, or in a knowledge level understanding. That kind of understanding is required. That will give you a little bit of a framework to work. Otherwise, you will be bombarding in all directions. So just on a theoretical level or intellectual level, it gives you a framework or a view to start with. Within that view, within that framework, you work. But when you have the full circle around, you come back to this right understanding. But at that time, at the end, the right understanding is not intellectual understanding anymore. It is the experiential understanding. For that reason, the Buddha started with the right view, because we need to have a little framework to work this Eightfold Noble Path. So that is the right view, or the wisdom group, Pinya group, wisdom group. And then the next one is the Buddha Samakamanta, okay? The right deeds, Sama Vacha, right speech, Sama Ajiva, the right livelihood. Those three are morality group. That morality group, if you have them curtailed, you can manage the transgressive nature of mental defilements. That's why livelihood is very important. Let's say in your livelihood, you are a mercenary soldier, killing, attacking, beating other people. How can you contain your transgressive nature? Your livelihood is already taken to the other part. That's why it is said, right livelihood is a part of the morality group, separate. Because we all have to make a living, and what kind of living we do and we don't directly influence our transgressive nature of our life. So that is the morality group that takes us of the transgressive nature of mental defilements. And then the third one, Samavariya, Samasati, Samasamadhi, concentration group, that really take care of the mind, to be really concentrated, focused, and give no space for these mental defilements to arise, even under the change condition. So those are the 8. And if you practice these 8 on a Vipassana level, Vipassana, what we are doing, at that level, we are said to be, we are the preliminary, I can't pronounce properly, path, Eightfold Noble Path. And then when we have attained a perfect 100% of these 8 constituents in a perfect balanced condition, we are on the real path. And when we reach and attain the real path, we realize Nibbana. So that is the 4th Noble Truth. And in the next discussion, we will discuss more details about these, each and every one of these 8 constituents. So may all of you be able to practice Eightfold Noble Path or Vipassana, and may you be able to uproot all mental defilements, transgressive, arising and latent, and achieve or attain the cessation of all form of suffering as soon as possible. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Buddham pujami, Dhammam pujami, Sangham pujami.